Many voices, one community. This is Vox Lorcana. Hello, family, and welcome to today's edition of Vox Lorcana. My name is Scott, also known as Cypher 1000. I'll be your driver this evening. Sitting to the east, coming to you from the Lone Star Studio, we have the wonderful and talented Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Howdy, howdy.
And up to the north, broadcasting from Studio Pacifica, we have the talented and wonderful Rebekah. Hello, Rebekah.
Hello.
Whether you are joining us live on YouTube or Twitch, or maybe you're watching or listening to, rather, a restream from YouTube later on, we appreciate you hanging out with us. If you would, go ahead and take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, do all the social things, click the bell, however you can interact, that is wonderful. We appreciate that interaction, engagement for the algorithms and whatnot. Later on in the show, we'll be bringing on guests Daniel and Rebekah. Wait a minute. That's you two.
We are already here.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you about some recent and upcoming events for related to Lorcana. To be honest, it really is my honor to get to interview my co-hosts tonight, as they are absolutely a part of the community and doing things, frankly, that I love and that we all love. So very grateful to have them on tonight to talk about their recent and upcoming events. Before we get to that, though, I want to hear just a little bit from Daniel about his sponsorship with Heavy Play.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. First off, it's so much fun to get to do the show with you both, and I think that this just dovetails into Heavy Play. A year ago, Lily and I went to our first, I would say major con. It was definitely Lily's first conference ever. We went to DreamHack Dallas and, played in our first Lorcana 1K tournament. It's actually the tournament that I got my first top 8 in. But while we were there, we, got to peruse a number of vendors, and it was fun just to go like, Lily, this is what, a con is like. You've got vendors, you got stalls, and we're walking around, and we come across some of Heavy Play's products. If you're not familiar with Heavy Play, I think they're most famous for their kind of magnetic system with their deck boxes, dice boxes, and their playmat. And I think Empty Apartment is probably the first Lorcana player that I ran into that was using Heavy Play product. And so I had some familiarity with the brand, and it was just really fun to, I think, experience it firsthand. And that was kind of like a really fun initial experience. The owner was kind enough to give Lily a pack of cards sleeves. And what's unique about Heavy Play sleeves are they are curved at the bottom, so that as you're shuffling, you always know which side is up. And it also kind of creates a nice handheld experience where you don't have sharp edges or corners from your sleeves kind of poking you. So anyways, that was kind of our first experience. And over the last year, we've really enjoyed engaging with them as a brand. And I think we hit a point where we just simply said we would love to be an affiliate sponsor and partner with y'all, and they said yes. So really excited for that. And again, I think coming on the heels of Team Maelstrom, also kind of announcing their formal partnership and sponsorship. So I'm really happy and grateful to have that kind of support from the community, and to be able to, I think, again, find a brand that we are excited about that is looking to really build out their presence and awareness with Disney Lorcana Illumineers.
That is fantastic. I am pleased as punch that both of y'all have found kind of sponsorships or ambassadorships with some accessories companies. That's fantastic to hear. Daniel, I am curious about the Heavy Play sleeves. You mentioned the curved bottom corners, so to speak, if corners can be curved. I hadn't thought about the fact that you always know which way your cards are oriented, which is kind of cool. One thing I'm curious about is the size of them. Because they're curved, do they have to be a little bit longer than typical sleeves? Do they fit in regular deck boxes?
Nope, they are actually perfectly sized to the card. I mean, if you think about it, a Lorcana card, a Magic card, a Pokemon card, they're not rectangular, right? They have their own kind of
yes.
curve. And so what's beautiful is, again, if you're a double sleever or a triple sleever, you can buy the heavy play inner sleeve, which again is also curved, because you can't just use like another, you can't use Dragon Shield inners, right? Or Katana inners, right? You have to use kind of both together, right? It's from one brand, but yeah, it creates like the perfect snug fit. I will say, some folks have seen some quality issues with the sleeves. I know that the company is working on some. I think they've got some exciting things coming. But for the most part, had locals. That box of sleeves that we've got, we use it for one of our tester decks, and it's still holding up well. So we've been happy.
Good to hear. Fantastic. Well, at this point, I'm not sure if you've heard yet, but the Reign of Jafar is upon us. This past weekend, we had the release weekend for Reign of Jafar, set 8 of Disney Lorcana trading card game. How were your release weekends, folks?
Super fun.
Yeah.
Rebecca,
you had a lot going on.
I did have a lot going on. Daniel, you can go.
Sure, I'll go first. Lily and I were really excited to get to do a set release event at Game Castle Austin. They're one of our favorite local game stores, and sadly we missed the last one, just in between travel and other things. I think what makes their experience so fun is across the draft sealed and starter deck sealed events that they do. The team, Tom and Marco, they just really bring the vibes, right? They really understand, I think, what creates an environment of Disney magic, down to the packaging, right? Everyone sat down, got a little goodie bag. You open the goodie bag. So for the starter deck sealed event, you got a goodie bag and 2 starter packs. So a total of 3 starter packs. You get to make basically a mini sealed pool of all ink colors. So that's a lot of fun. But they had little hats, like Abu hats, and little jasmine tiaras, and they had just little stickers and trinkets and tiny mini lamps that just kind of, I think,
so
adds
cute
to the experience. Yeah, it's super cute, super fun. They also this time upgraded and had a beautiful backdrop of kind of Agrabah. And so again, just a really fun way to kind of bring the community together over the weekend. And so yeah, we had a blast. Rebecca, what about you? You definitely had a lot going on this weekend.
Yeah. So I on Friday, on pre-release day, Caleb went to a sealed event and he had a lot of fun. I ended up not going to that because I had some family that we were getting together with, but we still wanted Caleb to go. And he got, what did he get? I don't think he got anything that we needed, but he did get a couple legendaries out of his packs. He was super bummed because like somebody, who bought something like right after him or something opened an enchanted. He's like, could have been mine. But so he did a sealed event. And then Saturday I went to the Social Quest event, which I helped organize, which we're going to talk all about later. So I'll save that for another day. And then we also I went to one of our LGSs and I bought some product. And so Caleb and I opened 2 booster boxes over the weekend. We organized all our cards. And then last night, Tuesday, the league that I've been going to is every Tuesday night. And so they had a sealed event last night that we did, which was a lot of fun. I've played with the starter decks a little bit and we've done Palace Heist at home, but this was my first time, playing all the Reign of Jafar cards out in the wild. And so that was super duper fun. There were definitely some cards that were like, oh, that's good in sealed. So lots of fun.
The as far as the cards, you mentioned you pulled a couple of legendaries. What cards were you hoping to get other than an enchanted, obviously? And what are you really excited about playing as we go through the upcoming weeks and months for the set 8 meta?
It's funny. I mentioned this to someone the other day, and I'd be curious to know your guys' thought about this as well. The reveal season for Reign of Jafar, I mean, we got every single card revealed in like the span of 8 days.
There's a lot.
And what happened was I noticed when I was opening packs, it was kind of like I I wasn't really excited about a lot of things because I was like, I don't even know what these cards are because I couldn't
Yep.
keep up with all the reveals. So it was a really different pack opening experience than what I've had in the past, and so it's taking me a while to like get a handle on the cards that are really in the set, see what cards are exciting and what decks I might want to play. I do think there's some really fun like more like theme like synergy decks out there that I want to try. I definitely want to update my puppy deck because
Mhm.
we got a few new puppy cards. But also I think the racers deck is one that I really want to update and try. There's some really fun racer cards that I want to put. So an Amber Ruby racer card. And then also like a Mulan deck. I don't know. I want to do all the things, all the things.
It all sounds great. I agree with
Yeah.
you on basically everything. I wanted to build a puppy deck from set 7, failed to
Yeah.
do so. So
Oh.
now we'll just make one for set 8.
Yep. There you
I
go.
also want to do Churner Dogs and some. Actually, I don't know that I'm going to do Churner Dogs anymore as much as the Amber Steel kind of dogs deck, the hyper
Oh,
aggro
sure.
one there.
Yeah.
That 3-drop lady is
Yeah.
that's the good right there. That's
The
value
3
pound.
drop and the 1 drop. Like
Oh,
they're
both are
both
good
really
for
good.
sure.
Both.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super fun.
Yep. So that whole package looks great. I am very much interested in updating my racer deck. I still maintain a racer deck. I
Yeah.
don't play it too often because my local group, frankly, doesn't like it. When it goes off, it's kind of non-interactable.
Sure.
So, and I'm okay with it. Like that's fine. Eat my dust, basically. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. As far as the cards, it was really the lady that was the standout to me. And the only reason it stood out is because it was such value tone. I'm with you. I have this curse anyway. When it comes to reveal season, I see cards and I forget them. The only other one that stuck in my mind, well, there's two. One was the Bambi because of Liam, the Bambi Enchanted. And the other was the Perdita Enchanted. Both of which I'll probably end up having to buy. Because I did get an Enchanted. It's a 3-drop action. I don't even remember the name of it.
Oh.
I was excited to pull it, but it was one of the ones. It was
wrong
the
lever,
draw.
pull the lever?
No. It was a steel one.
Oh, yeah, the Desperate Plan.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not that I'm not excited about the card, but that particular Enchanted was not one of the ones I was hoping for. So that's probably going to get a little expensive. I may have to find some creative trades and financing to round out my Enchanted collection with this one.
I would love to get the Fantastical and Magical Enchanted from Encanto.
Can't
It's
imagine
so pretty. I know. I just love Encanto. And so when I saw that Enchanted and like I was thinking about it and looking at it, and I might have to like do some trades or whatever to get my hands on it. And then I said to myself, there's some other Enchanted Encanto cards. I think maybe I need to like figure out how I can get my hands on all of them and have like a little Enchanted Encanto collection. So I might be doing that.
Yep. I hope you do, and I look forward to seeing it grow over time.
Yes.
Daniel, what are you looking forward to? What excites you about this set?
Racers for me just sounds like a lot of fun. I think this is one of the challenges, Rebekah, I'm sure you run into is, I think we're gonna always build the Lily Fossa, right, for this set, and so balancing between, again, they don't share too many cards, but
it might be the last set. It may
exactly.
be. It may be Mufasa's last dance.
No, they have to reprint it.
I hope they do. Honestly, I hope they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, Humble has updated a current version of Lily Fossa. If you're in the Maelstrom Discord, you can check out the latest list. What cards am I looking for? I mean, I think this is an interesting set for me in the sense that, and I had asked a lot of folks on social media leading up to it, is um, both from a collector standpoint and from a player standpoint. Let's just start with the question, right? How much sealed product am I buying?
Yeah.
And I actually took a step back a little bit, partly because when I look across this set from a competitive standpoint, there's not a lot of events that I'm planning to compete in competitively. And so, um,
Sure.
it for me, I also didn't go out and order play sets because there's not any, again, tournaments that I'm planning to go compete at, in the immediate future. We're out of town, for the Fort Worth PPG event. Will be in London. And so, I think that might have changed things a little bit. But kind of as a result of that, I think, we bought 2 boxes and we got to do some sealed with that at home. That was fun. And I think that's kind of a format that Lily's slowly getting more into. And so that's been really fun. We were very lucky that out of those 2 boxes and 2 troves that we got, we were able to get an enchanted. So we got the enchanted Rapunzel. It's such a beautiful card.
So beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was such a great pull.
I will say that this set, and certainly Fabled, gosh, like the designs just keep getting better. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is a set where I go like from, I couldn't honestly tell you what my favorite, chase card would be, because like, the Perdita with the music notes. I mean, we both love piano. That one just kind of, sings to us. But the lady is also just got some really wonderful vibes. So I think it's really hard to say. I haven't spent too much time kind of like analyzing just like the set design. I think I missed that Lorecast. But there's something about the composition of the cards this set on the Enchanteds that just really, it's really fun. So
I agree.
Daniel, you mentioned Lorecast right now is a perfect time to transition into
hey,
that. For those that maybe weren't aware for some reason, Ravensburger has started doing what they call a weekly Lorecast. For all intents and purposes, a live streamed show on Thursday mornings. Is it 9 or 10 when it kicks off?
It's 10 a.m. Pacific
10 Pacific, yeah.
time. So that would be 1 p.m. Eastern, which is a terrible time for people who work during the day.
Yeah, it's a little rough, right? But I also do want to mention they have the video on demand on
Yes,
Twitch.
on Twitch they do, which is very nice.
So that's how I've had to catch the updates, is either at lunch or watch a replay after I sign off for the day. So very, very grateful for the video on demand for those of us that are not available to watch at that time. So if you come from a Yu-Gi-Oh background, you especially know Konami basically doesn't communicate with the player base at all. So this is a huge breath of fresh air for that portion of the player base that only knows radio silence from the publisher. If you come from maybe a Magic background or others, sometimes these other companies, other publishers, a little bit more communicative. Ravensburger has kind of taken a page out of that notebook and has started doing these weekly shows. I think they've had 3 so far, if I'm not mistaken. Each one has gotten progressively better, and I think they will continue to make iterative improvements as time goes on. Could not be happier. I'd said coming out of their next chapter stream, this was one of the things I was most excited about. Time excluded, just the fact that they're doing it, even if it wasn't video on demand.
Oh yeah.
Just the simple fact that they have committed to this weekly communication is very, very important and a huge step in the right direction. Super grateful for that.
I think everyone would rather there be more communication, right, than none, which is what I feel like what we have swung wildly from what felt like no communication at all to now having this very regular once a week lorecast that they're doing, and I do really appreciate it. And so far it feels like every week there has been actual news, right?
Yes.
Like new things that they're communicating with the community about. Like they announced the new worlds format last week. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. I guess 2 weeks ago. They showed some spoilers and revealed from Fabled this last week. So every week with the Lorecast, they are sharing new things with the community, which is pretty exciting.
You mentioned the community. One really nice part about it is they said they plan on bringing people from the community into the show.
They did. When they first went live, that's what they mentioned, was that they want to have more people, I think, from Ravensburger, from their team on there. And then also they said they want people, content creators from the community. Of course, they had, when they did the next chapter, like the big announcement, they had JDZ there, which was awesome. And it'll be really neat to see some more folks from the community joining for those, hopefully soon.
Another interesting trait about it is it's not just one-way communication. It's not just them giving a data dump. It's not just a 1-hour commercial for whatever it is they want to show. What I've been impressed with is they're actually engaging with community comments both early and late. Now, if they're doing something like a palace heist, maybe they're not paying attention to the comments as much because they're playing a game. But they have been trying to respond to questions that are relevant or comments that are timely as they come up, which has been really cool to see. That's not necessarily common in these spaces. So glad to see that bi-directional communication as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's been great to see, kind of just with the addition of Greg and his engagement, right? And watching the setup. And I mean, I think the sleeper shout out, I mean, Greg gave the shout out as well, but for those who haven't been following Kelsey Johnston on the team, I mean, she's done a lot of the marketing, illustration, and artwork. And so it's been great to see, just her also, being shouted out, right, by the team for her contributions on a weekly basis. So I think it's just, there's a lot of elements of what's getting communicated, how it's getting communicated, that feels really, really good.
Is she the one that had the applause cards in the background?
Yeah, that was her.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
Where I remember her from is she helped create. Do you remember the first Trove? And the second one had this player guide that had all the cards printed.
Yes.
Bring them back. Bring them back.
I know, right? Bring them back.
She did the illustration, like she did the design and composition and illustration for that. So that was when I first started following her on socials.
I will need to fist bump her for that, because that's, I know there's a lot of people that enjoy that. They went the way of the dodo, unfortunately, and maybe we can pull a little Jurassic Park magic and revive them.
The other thing I liked about those was because it had story in it, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started doing the story blogs on the website, and now they're not doing any story. I guess they're doing the lore cards. We get the lore.
Yeah, we have lore cards now. Yeah,
we have lore cards, so we get that. But it feels like the amount of pieces of story that we're getting has dwindled down with every set. Hopefully we start getting more.
There are lore fanatics out there that are absolutely ravenous for more. I've said, I don't want just a collated art book. I want a lore book. I want the story far in print. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a full novel, perhaps a series of vignettes along with the art. You could kind of combine the two. This is a pipe dream, but let a man wish.
Right.
I would love to see that as like a coffee table type book.
Yes. I'm in for that. I keep asking for a coffee table book someday.
Yes. We'll take anything, any merch. Make it happen, please. Disney, Ravensburger, let's go. Okay. We have way too much content to get through today and not enough time. You may have heard earlier that this week we get to give the guest treatment to both Daniel and Rebekah because of some community focused events that they have run or organized or have coming up. I mean, shoot, I've got one in the living room right now. We've got our Lorcana book club meeting at the moment. So they're having a little live listening party from out there. But while they're listening, I want to go ahead and bring on our first guest, Daniel. Welcome to the program, Daniel.
Hey, glad to be here.
Hey, glad to have you finally. It's been a while. I feel like it's been a month since I've talked to you. Okay, May 17th, social play event at Game Castle featuring Illumineer's Quest Deep Trouble. You had been planning that for a while, went ahead and executed on that. I think it went pretty well. Tell us about that event and how it went.
Yeah. One of the goals Lily and I set out for this year was to really grow our local community scene, especially from not just from a family perspective, really, but really from a social perspective. And so I think what's been wonderful is we've been on this journey with a community of doing everything from just creating a fantastic experience for kids to connect with cards and the community donated cards for that kind of experience to really trying to figure out what's the best way to actually do a large, at scale learn to play event. I mean, Gateway is actually not actually the easiest, right? For something like that. I think Gateway is perfect for like your living room, you're sitting down with your family, friends. And so we've kind of iterated on a lot of different concepts, and we've kind of found that, certainly as Pack Rush became sort of a format with the Valentine's event, it's just brought us on this journey. And so now we have a group of players who started playing with us from January, and it kind of felt natural with, the second Illumineer's Quest coming up. I was like, we want to send off Ursula with a bang. And so the idea kind of came together rather quickly in partnership with Game Castle around what would it look like if we tried to host like a massive like raiding party, right? Like we had multiple tables battling out with Ursula as sort of like one last send off before Jafar. That would be a lot of fun. And so again, this kind of event was, ultimately requires just having community members who are willing to step up and sort of host. And the final event that we had was fantastic. We had I think almost 20 players. We were able to run I think four tables simultaneously with four players at each table running. And so again, I think it was such a fun way to see the community come together, bring different varieties of decks. And we had one table that was definitely playing the highest level of difficulty and really struggling. And again, I think what was fun for me, if nothing else, was expanding a co-op experience that I think most of us probably, again, experience in a tabletop format in your kitchen, in your living room with friends, but trying to do something more at scale and making it an even larger social experience. That was a lot of fun. And I think the icing on top was, I'll give a shout out to Adrian, one of our community members. He went and got some Amazon, little paper crowns. And so that was kind of a fun, again, winning back the Hexwell crown was sort of the gift for everyone who beat Ursula. So that was a really fun event.
All the pictures looked so fun. It looked like everyone was having such a great time.
Yeah, social media is social media, right? But yeah, I would say if you were to ask anyone who attended that event, it was really, really fun.
What did the kind of gamer demographics look like? So basically, how many were newer versus experienced players? How many families were represented? Did you have people playing as Ursula, or did the table kind of collectively play her? How did that all break down?
Yeah, the logistics for this can get complex, right? I think one example logistic is how do people sit around the table, right? A Game Castle has long tables, and so do you put all four players that are playing on one side and then Ursula, right, the host, on the other, like the dungeon master, right, on the other side? And so we I think every table sort of figured out their own thing. I think we had one where we had 3 people on one side, 1 on the other, and then Ursula. So it's kind of a table of 5. We had one where it was just 4 people. So one of the players also played out the mechanics of Ursula. We had one family who they wanted to play together, right? So they were kind of just there, and it was the 5 of them. And then we had a nice mixed table where it was like half of a family. They split up so that they could kind of play in 2 different groups. But yeah, we had, in terms of new players for that experience, we only had one family show up that was brand new, right? That had essentially not played Lorcana before. And then they came at the tail end. So I think what they got to observe and feel was this really fun game where people were able to really coach them on, hey, play this out, play this out. And it was very like this open hand experience. And I think that was a fun way to engage with this game. And I know that, they got a few starter packs, and they're excited to get more into the game, right? They have an 8-year-old daughter. So that was a lot of fun. Almost everyone else, though, has been part of the community, like I mentioned, probably since February. We had one family that sort of randomly showed up one day. Their grandfather plays Star Wars Unlimited, and I think I mentioned this family on some of my socials before. But twin boys who are, I want to say that they're 6, but they're like Lily, super brilliant. They both play Lorcana really well. They have an older sister, and she seems to really be getting into the game as well. And so again, I think we were able to create just a really fun environment, something that didn't exist, right, a year ago, when Lily and I first got into Lorcana. I mean, we had weekly leagues, which were great. We had a welcome community for that, but there really wasn't any other way to engage in the game with the community. And so again, I'm just really proud that we've been able to create an environment where we have some of our most competitive players who offered to be hosts for Ursula. I mean, we have players who, have day 2'd, who showed up, players who have been very, I would say like the top players for set championships, and they were running a table themselves. And so again, it was just a really nice balance, I think, for an event where highly recommend it, right? Again, I think we'll probably plan something for Palace Heist, right, with the second Eliminator's Quest as well. I don't think that, playing up against Ursula, just kind of like ages out, right? I think it's a really fun experience. You can bring lots of different types of deck to try to, play at different levels of difficulty. And so I hope that, we see more people continue to play both of the Luminary Quest, games. I will say, as a shout out, I've had a few folks reach out and ask like, hey, how do I host my own? And so I've started to put together sort of how to do this in a box, right? And so just reach out to me on socials, DM me, and I'm happy to share the Google Doc that I've created.
Before we move on from that, in case they don't aware, what are your socials?
Yeah, you can follow me on X, Twitter, or at Lorcana Fanatics. I'm also that on Instagram. And then on Blue Sky, I am lorcanafanatics.lorcana.community.
You had mentioned the logistical aspect, something as simple as planning out where people would sit and how that would work. I think aspects of an event like this kind of go under the radar and unnoticed until you're in the middle of it and have to make those decisions. What are some kind of key steps that members could take? If you could list very quickly, just 1 or 2 things that, if you're going to do this, make sure you take step X and Y to make it successful. And could you also let us know maybe what's something that you learned or a takeaway from the event where if you do it again, you might incorporate that to make it better next time?
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. This is what it's like to be on the other side. I think having a really good local game store partner, it's not a requirement. I mean, you could run this out of your garage, right? I mean, but I think having a strong local game store partner creates infrastructure that makes this really easy, right? We're also lucky that, most of our community members who are very active players who've been around since the beginning, they all have their own copies, right, of Illuminator's Quest. And so I think that's another logistic that just key to have. You got to make sure you have enough copies of the game, right, if you're going to have players. And so ensuring that you balance supply and demand, if you will, I think is an important takeaway. In terms of something I've learned, I think the one thing that has been so amazing, and so this is really a shout out to the Austin Illuminator community, is sometimes I'm not sure if everyone is as passionate about bringing on more players, right, and growing the community. And I think with the Illuminator Quest event, that one really showed me how much the community truly cares. I mean, our first Learn to Play event, it was amazing to see folks build decks and donate bulk. But this one really just reminded me that, and this is a true lesson in life, right? And it's something that I actually do quite a bit at work. But I just kind of it hadn't clicked for me with the hobby, is, asking for help, right? If you create space, the community will show up and fill it. And so I think, isn't that just so true in life, right? If you go alone, what's the saying? Like, if you go alone, you can go so far, but you go together, you can go farther. And I think that's just it was more of a reminder more than a learning, but just being really well aware of how you can lean on the community, because they actually want the same thing you do, which is they want the community to come together and have fun.
Fantastic. Glad to hear that went well. Looking forward to continued stories of success in the future. And speaking of the future, I think we've got something big coming up here at the end of June. What do you have in the chamber for us here at the end of June?
We have something really exciting. So I think this one is, this one's definitely stretching the limits of my, speaking of needing to lean on others, right? This one really speaks to sort of going from vision to execution and event planning, right? So if you're out there and you're an event planner, kudos to you. It is not easy, right, to work through logistics for any type of event. When we got news that World's Championship was going to be a closed event, one of the ways that I personally processed that was trying to go do something, and the doing kind of became, what would it look like if we hosted a watch party for everyone, right, in Austin, Texas. And I know Austin's hot in June. It's not the best place, and it's not always the desirable place to come. But I thought between the Illuminateers being here locally, and sort of partnering up with Liam and Aaron, it's very dangerous to partner up with Liam and Aaron because they are enablers. They are so supportive of the community.
They are enablers. Yes.
Yeah, you might have noticed their Sugar Rush Speedway racer.
Yeah, they commit to the bit, right? And so, maybe I knew that in my heart, and so I knew if I went to them, they would say yes, and we would make this happen. And so, we are planning what we're calling Enchanted Moments, right? A World's Watch Party experience in Austin, Texas. Again, we could have just simply said, everyone can just watch with their local community. We could have simply said, everyone can gather right at a bar or some kind of social place that has TVs, and ask them to put a Twitch stream on and enjoy that and call it a day, right? I think those are all viable options, but there was something that's really driven Aaron, Liam, and I to say, we unless you're going to Gen Con, right? Like where is this opportunity to come together and celebrate this? It's not just about the World Championship, right? It's about celebrating this game and the year that we've had together in it. And so what we've put together is we found one of our local performing arts centers has been gracious to underwrite a big portion of the rental cost for their black box theater. We have this huge screen, 16 by 30 something feet. So, high definition, we're going to get to see Liam and Rebekah in all your glory.
That's too large.
But I think
that's too big.
between but the cards are tiny, right? The cards are tiny. No, so we've got this beautiful screen. We're gonna have a viewing area, and I think maybe this is part of, for me, having missed the North America Championship and seeing that really fun viewing space. We've got nice comfy chairs right in front of a huge screen, and then we're gonna have tables behind that where people can sit and play games, and then we're gonna have snacks and food. And then one really exciting thing, working with the Lawn Center and their caterer, we're going to have mocktails that are based or inspired by ink colors. And so
I love
this
that
was something
so
I actually wasn't aware of. I don't know, Scott, Rebekah, if you knew that apparently at Gen Con, I think this past year, there were Disney Lorcana mocktails that were ink
There
inspired.
were.
So there's recipes that
I didn't
float out
hear
there.
that about Gen Con, but there was actually a like an influencer event in Australia that was hosted by the Ravensburger Australia team for the launch of Arcasia's Island. And at that event, they had two things that I was so jealous of. One was I saw pictures of ink. Each ink had its own little mocktail, and they had puppies. They did
Like
they did
live puppies?
They did puppy yoga, like actual puppies. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I guess I have to go to Australia.
Right? Yes.
No, Scott, we're gonna find some
There you
puppies.
go.
All right, there we go.
Turn them into Dalmatian puppies.
I'm
Yes.
so
We'll work with Austin Pets
Oh, man.
Alive, and yeah, we'll
I'm
make that
so
happen.
excited about your event though, Daniel. I think what you said earlier, it just hits it right on the head, right? Like it's not just about the culmination of like this tournament and seeing these players, which is exciting enough in and of itself to like watch the best of the best of the best battle it out. But it's also about the community coming together and celebrating this first year of the game. And I know that was for most of us out there, for not those 28 players who qualified, but for everyone else in the community, we were all so looking forward to being together with each other as a community. And so I think it's wonderful that you all are creating a space for that. And I hope that it goes well and it's well attended and everything. And I can't wait to hear how that event goes. It's going to be amazing.
So we've talked about the event. It has a name. What's it called? And when and where can folks get more information about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's called Enchanted Moments, but it's a world watch party. We are going to be launching registration this week. We've been waiting to nail down some final details. So 2 other exciting pieces. Brian Weiss, one of our amazing Disney Lorcana artists, is going to be in Austin, signing cards, doing a meet and greet. And so again, I think Brian is most infamous for Flounder. But he has some amazing cards from Reign of Jafar as well. And so we're really excited to have Brian come in from LA to be with us. And then, those in the community who have grown to love some of the foiling done by Matified. Matified's also going to be doing some stuff. So we're just really excited to, I think, again, turn this into a really like high class event. And if you're thinking about coming to Austin, Southwest has a discount right now, I think until tomorrow. And so worth looking at flights. I think it's like an up to 50% discount until tomorrow. So hope to see you there. We'll have registration up.
What's the date of it?
Yeah, it is the Sunday of finals. So it is June 29th. Yeah, so it should be a good time.
Wait for that. Hopefully the universe doesn't get in the way, and it will be the first time that Daniel and I are able to meet in person.
That's right. Yes.
It will. Looking forward
to it. All right. Daniel, appreciate you giving us the rundown of those 2 events. That was a lot to take in. I can't wait for Enchanted Moments to launch and look forward to being able to share those details once the event registration fully goes live. Now we need to pivot, if you will, into our next guest, Rebekah. She will be one of the world's championship casters. But tonight we have her here to talk about her recent event, the Social Quest. Rebekah, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Glad to be
Oh,
here.
yeah, great to have you. We've been trying to nail you down for an interview, and it just seems like it hasn't worked for the past year. So the Social Quest, what was it? What is it? How did it go?
Yeah. So we had this event called the Social Quest, and it was an event held down in Anaheim at the Hilton Anaheim, which is basically across the street from Disneyland, right around the corner. And it was an event for social play. We wanted to create an event that was a place where new players could come and learn to play, where people who were veteran players could just come and bring silly decks or bring friends to introduce them. We had a Lumineers Quest, we had Pack Rush, we had a photo booth, we had artists who came, and we wanted to make it as a fun casual day as possible. We had a Disney bound and a cosplay contest, and it was so much fun. And it all came from a player who I met online. Her name is Clarissa, and she actually was on Vox Lorcana a couple months ago. And she reached out and said, "Hey, I was thinking about putting on a Disney Lorcana event. Would you like to be involved?" And I immediately said yes, because I think events like this, like what Daniel's doing, are so needed in the Disney Lorcana community, right? There are tons and tons of tournaments going on all the time. Of course, you have DLCs, which will soon be coming in the fall, and you have XKs all over the place going on. You have your set championships, so you have just lots of things out there for competitive players. But for people who want to engage in the game from a more social aspect, there aren't really a lot of events going on unless you have someone like a Daniel who's doing things, at a local game store. And so she said, "Would you be willing to travel down here and support the event?" And I said yes. And so Clarissa, along with a friend of hers, Angie, and then I also brought in Patrick and Monica, Lorcana duo, to help with the event. And we had prizes galore and so much fun. And we had over 50 people there. When the tickets went on sale, it sold out in less than an hour. Well, I shouldn't say tickets. It was a free event.
Right.
We wanted to make it actually a free event. And so all the prizes were donated from different stores, local stores down there in the area. Vault X was one of the sponsors and gave us some binders and deck boxes to give out. We really wanted to have the support of the different sponsors so that it could be a free event for the community. Though we did ask people to register because we were limited on space for, making sure the fire marshal didn't get mad at us. And so space filled up in less than an hour from when we announced registration was open. So I think that just goes to show how excited people were for an event like this. We had people there of all ages, and it was a ton of fun. It was kind of a crazy weekend for me because I flew down that morning early, did the event all day. I did stay the night down there and then flew right back the next morning after. But I'm so glad that I did, because it was really wonderful event. And I think something that we would like to do again in the future and expand, open up to be a bigger event with more people and a bigger space. So hopefully that happens. But yeah, the Social Quest.
You made it a free event. How were you able to secure the hotel space, as far as like the ballrooms or the convention space, on a budget of zero?
Yeah, so that was Angie and Clarissa. They talked with the Hilton Anaheim about our event and worked with them to secure the space at pretty much no cost to us. They were very, very generous, and we are so thankful for them. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to do it. And it was a great space. We had plenty of room for everybody and a nice location down there right by Disneyland. And of course, venue, I think, is probably one of your biggest costs in holding an event.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they were able to work with us, and actually one of the reasons why they did work with us for that was because it was a free event. So we weren't charging money, for tickets for people, for attendees to come. So
Mhm.
they knew we weren't making money for the event. And so that's one of the reasons why they agreed to do that. And I think that when it comes to Disney Lorcana or any TCG, price sometimes is a barrier to entry for
Yes.
people, right? And so that was another reason we wanted it to be accessible to everyone. In the future, we may do something very small, like $5 a person or something, just because I think there were some costs that we didn't expect, like, oh, I printed out a bunch of things and printing costs money. um,
Right.
but we really want it to be like, we wanted it to be no cost for people. So that way the ticket of the entry would not be a barrier for people coming.
So that's one thing that I want folks who might be listening to take away. When you look at the venue that Daniel has secured for Enchanted Moments, when you look at the venue that you secured for the Social Quest, both are a little non-standard for small-ish events. Like unless you have kind of a larger sponsorship behind you, it's unusual to be able to hold events like what we're doing in these locations. So, and I'm wondering, at least in regards to the Social Quest, how much, in your opinion, did the proximity to Disney impact attendance and desire to go?
I mean, I think that Southern California, it's like city overlaps city,
Sure.
and there's tons of people down there. There are a lot of thriving game stores, and there are a lot of people who are Disneyland locals. They're
Mm,
right next to Disneyland or very close in proximity who are huge Disney Lorcana players. So we did know that there would be the market for an event like this to hold it there next to Disneyland. And then plus, then it's like, oh, yep, for dinner, for the organizers, we went out to dinner at Downtown Disney, and
sure.
you could, or you could, if we did it a larger event in the future, somebody could plan a trip to Disneyland around it. But we did know that holding it there, there's something magical about Disneyland. And sure, it wasn't on Disneyland property, but just having it be right there in proximity to the park, I think did make a difference to the draw that the event had. And I think that we easily could have had it double or triple the size, and we would have filled up space.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was curious, if people basically piggybacked onto that. So they went to that event and then either
Yeah,
before or
they
after
could
they
have.
also did
Yeah.
a Disney vacation. Like they just kind of wrapped it all into one.
Yeah. I'm sure that if we did it again and it was a larger event, that's something I could see people doing for sure. I would have loved to have gone to Disneyland. I couldn't this time, but I did go to Downtown Disney for dinner. So
Sure.
Din Tai Fun was very good.
What are some takeaways that you had as far as organizing, planning, and executing the event? Something that you think worked well, something that you would use to make it go better in the future.
Yeah, I think that we had a great team of people, and each of us we all kind of had our responsibilities divvied up for who was in charge of what, which really, really helped the planning and organization of things go well and come together nicely. And so for anyone who is planning an event out there, like getting together with people who have the same vision as you and who you think you can work well together with, many hands make light work. And like Daniel said, planning an event is a lot of work. And so having a team of people to share all those responsibilities with is really great. And we were fortunate with the Social Quest that we had everyone was just totally on board with taking care of their things. For the event itself on the day of, I think everything went as smoothly as it could have for it being the first event like this that any of us had done, right? So registration check-in went all very smoothly, I think, except for the fact that I didn't print out the attendee list. But somebody had a laptop, so we could pull it up on there. So there were like little things that I was like, oh, yep, okay, we didn't think about that. But the event itself, we had lots of prizes and things that kind of went on. It was an event that ran from 12 to 6, and we kind of always had a raffle being done or something being announced, or there was, we had Disney trivia at one point, prizes being given for the cosplay and Disney bound. And I think that really helped with the flow and to never really feel like there was any downtime. So everyone was having fun. We also had quest sheets for everyone so they could, as they were playing games, earn points. And then at the end of the day, they turned those in and we gave out prizes to the top 2 winners of how many points they earned. So people were like, they were questing all day, like, oh, I need to go play Illuminator's Quest, to get my point, or play a multiplayer game, or I need to go say hello to the artist so I get a point for my quest. So I think that really helped. I do think that I would change maybe a little bit of the flow of the day as far as like some of the pack rush and constructed play, and maybe having some like organized like group times of play, if that makes sense, because we kind of handed out 2 packs to everybody to just do pack rush like as they wanted. But if we had like designated, like, we're gonna do like, we have 8 spots over here for pack rush, come over and do that. I don't know. I think that maybe would have helped with the flow of things a little bit more. But yeah, for the most part, I think it all went as well as we could have hoped.
Awesome. I am glad that it went well. I look forward to the next one, and hopefully I'll be able to beat out some of those 50 people that signed up. I would love to do that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And maybe
next time we do it, I think one of the things that we talked about is making it more like a little mini convention.
Okay.
Talking to whether it's the Hilton Anaheim or another hotel about having a larger space, and talking to vendors to have not just like card shops there with sealed product and singles, but also like people selling Disney stuff like lounge flies and other things of that sort, and that vendors being in the space and possibly like paying for a space could help fund a larger space. And so making it more like an event, but really just geared toward that social play aspect.
Yeah, I've got to believe, and I've thought this about DLCs as well. Like, I'm glad that they bring in card vendors, and that's kind of the typical standard affair that you would see at these larger events. But why not just have general Disney merchandise vendors as well?
Absolutely.
You've got a captive audience. Bring in the pin
Right.
traders, bring in the Loungefly sellers, bring in Vox Lunch or whoever else might have a traveling sales display. You've got a captive audience. People are going to buy this stuff.
Yep. Have the Spirit jerseys, have your
Yes.
Mickey ears. Like people want to buy it. Even if it's not like Disney Lorcana specific, people, like, as long as it's just Disney, people will buy it.
Yep. Yeah, it turns out people like Disney.
It turns out, yes.
Scott, do we need ears for our Worlds event? We might need some ears.
Oh,
we need to get ears making side.
Need might be a strong word, but highly encouraged. Yeah. Gotta find a way to. I may have to acquire ears in some form or fashion for that.
There you go.
One thing that folks have been asking about, because I've told a couple people that we're looking at Enchanted Moments and we've got a nice venue for that, and they're like, how do we secure a venue? Something that has come to mind you don't necessarily have to go extravagant, but you might do something as simple as going to your local movie theater and renting out one of the theaters for one or both of those days, um, and basically charging doors. So for the folks that go in, like $10 or whatnot, collectively that rents out the theater, and then you've got your concessions and whatnot there, so you don't even have to worry about some of the other logistical aspects. They'll just stream the event right onto the big screen. They've already got the sound, you've got the chairs, and you just go buy your food and drinks there, and it's done. So that's one way to do something, air quotes, on the cheap, that might work for some communities. Or you can kind of take the approach that you did, or that Daniel did, and just ask people that ask places. The worst they're going to tell you is no, and you might be able to get a venue on the cheap or free, as it turns out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I think one other one is, if you just think about what are typical conference type of venues, right? Or your local library likely has a meeting room space, right? That has a projector, already has AV tech. One of our local libraries, they just weren't available for the full block, right?
Sure.
I think that is one of the challenges, right? Is we still don't know exactly when Worlds Stream will start. And
Right.
so
Yeah,
we kind of had to roll out any venues that only gave us like a 4-hour block. So that was a challenge. But again, I think if nothing else, being able to have even if it's for 20 or 30 folks, those kind of conference room spaces sometimes can be free, especially if you can explain that you're bringing the local community together, and you're creating awareness and exposure to said venue. Oftentimes that is enough as a starting point to bridge a potential partnership.
Yeah, and it might be better to start on the smaller side to begin with, and then learn from the process as you go, and see if you want to parlay that into larger events in the future. There's nothing that says you have to go full extravagance for your first go round.
For sure. I think, I say that we could have done a larger event for the social quest, and we absolutely could have, but I do have to say I am sort of glad that it was the size it was, because even doing an event for 60 people was a big undertaking, and we learned a lot, and I couldn't imagine doing an event for a first time for 200 people or whatever, and that's being so overwhelmed. So do an event for 20 people, see how it goes.
Right. Exactly. So we are about to wrap up, but before we do, Rebekah, tell us a little bit about VaultX.
Oh yeah, so VaultX is a card storage company. So they have premium binders for card storage that come in all different sizes: 4-pocket, 9-pocket, 12-pocket. They also have deck boxes and sleeves. And I have a partnership with them. I'm one of their ambassadors, and you can get their products at 10% off on your first order using the code QUEST10 at vaultx.com. And they do shipping in the US and also the UK. And then they did also just release recently, they might be sold out, but some neon colors, which are fun, blue and orange. And the discount code for that is really fun. It's neon BO 10.
Okay.
But blue orange are the colors. So I'm like, you couldn't have done OB. I don't know. Anyway, so neon BO. So even if you've used Quest 10 in the past to get a discount, you could use the neon BO on the new products that are the neon colors and get another 10% off. But it is a product that I love, that I trust. I think they're really great quality and a wonderful price point. I think that the value for what you get is wonderful. So if you're looking for something to help store and protect your cards, check out VaultX.
Sounds good. Will do. Well, folks, believe it or not, our time is coming to a close here. We are a little past an hour. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. On behalf of our guests and hosts, Daniel and Rebekah, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this experience or episode of Vox Lorcana and spending a little time with us tonight. Appreciate you being here. And as always, remember, Lorcana means family. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Night. Thanks, everyone.